The highlights of me were how inclusive the evening were. You had Guillermo del Toro really talking about representation. He's a Mexican filmmaker, I think the third in the past 5 years to win the Best Director award, and he really made a point to speak about that during his speech for Best Director and for Best Picture. And as well, you had the Best Songwriters for Coco, the film that won Best Animated Film as well as Best Original Song for Remember Me. And they also really addressed inclusivity. You had a film essentially about a woman having sex with a fish monster win the Best Picture prize. You know, it's a conventional kind of throwback film in many senses, but it's also pretty radical in a lot of other senses. And you also had sexual harassment at the fore, with Harvey Weinstein being mocked in Jimmy Kimmel's opening monologue, the Time's Up movement getting its own point during the evening. So I wouldn't say that they played it safe per se, but given all that happened this year in the industry, they had certain beats they had to hit, and obviously they hit those beats. So at the end of her speech, Frances McDormand ended with two words, inclusion rider, and Twitter was confused as to what that meant. And she revealed later in the press room that she had actually only heard of this term, I think, a week before accepting the award. And she knew she had a good chance of winning, so she came prepared to make a statement. So after calling all the women in the audience who were nominated for an Oscar or had worked on a film to stand up, she said those two words. And what those two words are, they're a clause that you can put in your contract demanding for more diversity in your project, whatever you're working on. So Brie Larson, for example, tweeted immediately after the show that she was going to take that initiative and demand for inclusion rider in her projects going forward. So it's a really powerful statement, and hopefully it resonates with women in the industry. So unfortunately, Lady Bird, the female-centric coming-of-age movie directed by a woman, written by a woman, headlined by two amazing Oscar-nominated women, came away empty-handed, left a lot of people upset. And as well as Rachel Morrison, she was the first ever female cinematographer nominated for an Oscar. She didn't win for her work on Mudbound. Shockingly, Jordan Peele made history by winning the Best Original Screenplay Oscar for Get Out, and he really made a powerful acceptance speech just about how significant this moment was and about the kind of influence that he can have on young people like him looking up to his win as such a historical significant thing. So in terms of style, in contrast to the Golden Globes, where the Time's Up initiative had all the talent wear, or asked the talent to wear all black, men and women, the Academy Awards were quite different in that the Time's Up initiative didn't ask of its members to do that. So you had a lot of color, you also had a lot of metallics, some nudes. It was a nice contrast to the Golden Globes, which I'm sure a lot of viewers were kind of bored by fashion-wise.